video at my channel Ashley Ji. This is Ashley Ji, and today we're going to be starting a new series where we're going to be looking at like war scenarios. And this idea is based from the YouTuber ADIZZPRO. He's a really good YouTuber, so I'll be based off the videos of him. So basically, we're going to do a video today where there are the top 10 countries in the world against the rest of the world. So basically, right now, the top 10 are number one, the United States, number two, Russia, number three, it's China, number four, India, number five, it's the United Kingdom, number six is South Korea, number seven is Pakistan, number eight is Japan, number nine, France, and number 10, Italy. So basically, we're going to do a war scenario right now, and yeah, we're gonna start now. So basically, the war starts off as the Indians make a small push into Nepal and Bhutan, also with them making a small campaign into Bangladesh before meeting like into a block. Together, the Chinese and the Indian troops push into Myanmar, and yeah, their operation goes pretty well, and they successfully surround a huge portion of Myanmar, forcing it to capitulate, whereas China starts a warfare down into northern Southeast Asia. And now Pakistan, they start to make a small push into Iran and Afghanistan before being stopped, and the same thing to Tajikistan. Whereas all the way in Europe, we have Russia making pushes into Ukraine, followed with them even pushing into their ally Belarus, which sounds really strange. They even put into Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania, the three Baltics, and successfully they connect the three Baltic nations with the Kaliningrad, and they start to push into Finland before being stopped. Before Finland, and we have the United Kingdom pushing the island and eventually capitulating the island. We have France pushing into Belgium, taking the Benelux region and taking a lot of Netherlands. And together they also go down to Spain, and they eventually take Madrid, Catalonia, and Barcelona, which eventually leads to most of the Spanish army being captured. The French just try to encircle the Swiss, but the Swiss are geographically very sustainable because they live in the mountains area. Whereas in Italy makes small pushes into Slovenia and Austria, even followed by them pushing into Croatia. The Italians even end up making a landing in Albania, and they push a little. Even the Italians make a landing in Tunisia. The French make a landing in Algeria, and they also make another landing in Morocco, but they're eventually going to be pushed out because it's Morocco, they're really good. Over here, we have the Chinese troops, the Russians, the Japanese, and the South Korean troops pushing the North Koreans in from all sides. Eventually, Pyongyang is captured, and the Koreans are rushed through. China quickly just takes over Taiwan, and the campaign over here has gone pretty successful with India capturing Bhutan and Nepal. And over in the Americas, though, it's not looking so good for the red team because, yeah, they are making, the United States are making good progress into Canada, and even they're doing pretty good in Mexico, but really, the United States can't handle like an enormous continent, two enormous continents on its own. The United States make a naval landing in Cuba and cut the island in half, forcing the North half to capitulate. Eventually, they make a landing in southern Mexico, and they even make another one in the other parts of Mexico, over here, here, and here. Eventually, they just cut the southern part of Mexico and they push out of Mexico and into Guatemala. This, however, doesn't go so good as Canadian troops push the the Canadian troops push the Alaskans a little. They push a little back, but eventually they're not so successful because all they really did at the end was just take a little bit of Alaska, and they even tried to take a little bit of of the United States, but then eventually they just stopped at the end. All the way in Europe, the United Kingdom makes a naval landing in Iceland and eventually just takes the western part but concentrates into the east because 70% of the Iceland population is like in this area. So they're just making their way there. Even we have the United Kingdom, sorry, making a landing in Norway and in Denmark. Eventually, they just take Denmark and Denmark. Yeah, they surrender within 6 hours. Until the French make like completely take over the Benelux region and they push into Switzerland. But now, since all the European troops are mobilized, yeah, the Germans just beating all the French and they're trying to just separate the French army in two. Whereas down in Spain, yeah, rebellions because Spain is really like it's good and all, but yeah. So eventually, the French and the Spanish like rebels. They just take out Spanish and move into Portugal, and together they just make well Spain surrenders. And now they make like small pushes into Portugal, but pretty unsuccessful. Yeah, and and the naval bases are doing pretty good because they are taking over a lot of land, but in reality, it's not that good. Whereas in the Baltics, they are doing pretty good. Now, one of the most important things is all the way here in Asia, where the Iranian troops are now fully mobilized and are battering the Pakistani troops and the Indian troops and are just sending them back. So with the Afghani troops, but overall that's it that they can do. And now the Indian troops successfully take over Bangladesh and Sri Lanka. And now all the Indian troops are going through Southeast Asia and they even make a landing at Oman near Muscat. Soon as Muscat falls, Indian and the Pakistani troops take over Oman and soon Oman just capitulates. They try to make pushes into Yemen, but eventually stopped by the Saudi and the Yemenis troops as the Saudi troops push back Oman troops a little, but then they are stopped. All the way over here, though, yeah, it's not good for Mongolia because it's surrounded by two strong. Yep, Russia just where is it? And yep, Mongolia is gone. So now after this, we have the Russians pushing a lot into. We have them pushing a lot in Kazakhstan, along with the Chinese troops successfully pushing into Kazakhstan. Even with the Chinese and the Japanese and the South Korean troops, they push into like Central Asia, and they successfully reach the Black Sea, and they start encircling all the troops, pushing the troops back. Whereas in Europe, now we have, yeah, the Europeans are literally pushing back the Russians a lot. So, like the NATO troops and everything, they're just pushing everything back, and they do pretty good until they're stopped by the Russian reinforcements. And down here in Turkey and the Caucasus, like, yeah, it's not going so for Russia in the east, but going good in Central Asia. Whereas here in Southeast Asia, we have Myanmar falling to the troops of complete domination. So does Vietnam. And so Japanese troops make a landing in Philippines and yep, Philippines gone. Let me just do that. And soon they start making a landing into Vietnam, and since Vietnam's fallen, yep, Laos surrenders and Thailand is gone. So is Cambodia. And now they start to make a push into Myanmar, but are stopped by the Australian and the Indonesian troops. And all the way in the Middle East, we have the troops just completely taking over the United Arab Emirates. And they even make a landing at Iran. Because of this, the Pakistani troops push back Iran a little, but then has stopped. And they even pushed a little in their base, but they stopped overall by the Iranians. But now in the Europe, it's not looking so good for them. Not looking so good for the red team, as Germany is just steamrolling everything along with help from the Polish. And most of the French army is just stuck here and are making it back to the United Kingdom. But yeah, most of them did not make it. And Germany is now impressively strong. Even the Portuguese and the Moroccans push back a little, but eventually they're stopped. And even we have the Moroccan and the Algerian troops pushing the red team back a lot and almost out of Africa, but not entirely. And we even have Italy losing against some of the Balkan countries, but they're not fully like pushed out. But the good news is that all the way for Russia, Russia is having some good progress, like really, really good progress. Like they, along with Chinese troops, they just completely steamroll the. Yep, everything's just gone. And together they just start pushing through Asia, but are stopped by the Iranian troops because the Iranian troops are good. And as soon they make naval bases and they're pushing a lot. And over at Europe, we have Russia just significantly like destroying everybody. Like we have them pushing all the way into Warsaw and into Ukraine. But this seems to be a problem for Russia because as they're doing this, they're creating a little bit of a bulge trying to encircle all the Ukrainian Belarus troops. But since the Belarusian troops know what Russia's doing, they start a counteroffensive and it goes pretty well before they're stopped by the Russian troops. And all the way in America, we have the United States pushing into Baja California and a lot into Mexico, successfully taking Mexico City and causing Mexico to capitulate. And all the way over here, we have, yep, Canadians not so good after all. Yeah, the Canadians of like they are good, but compared to the United States, not good. So eventually, the United States pushed Canada a lot and goes northwards towards the Grand Plateau, and then at the end, Canada just surrenders because there's no point fighting USA, whichever country you are. I'm not gonna bother coloring all of this, but you get the point. USA annexes Canada, and I have USA making a huge naval landing in Denmark, like in Greenland, Denmark, the area, and Denmark withdraws its troops from Denmark, this area, and we have the United Kingdom successfully doing something worthwhile of taking over Iceland, even though Iceland was of no use whatsoever. And over in Europe now, things were not looking too great, but with the Russians like becoming like a target, the troops have become very like distracted, the German troops. So the British make a landing at Netherlands. They make a landing at Netherlands and it goes pretty successful. The French push back and regain most of their territory. The Italian naval base, things goes well. They take over Bosnia and Herzegovina, and they meet up at the last. And they try to take over Greece, but together with Greece and Turkey, they can't. The Russians try and push, but they are blocked. And they try and encircle a lot of troops and successfully do so, capturing a lot of soldiers. Over here, well, it's winter time, and since it's winter time, you know what happens. So all the way over here, we have the blue team making successful because well, it's winter and Saint Petersburg falls to Finland. Finland tries to make like cut off the Russians, but eventually they are stopped by the Russian. And they almost do, but they are a little too less. And yep, that's basically going good for the red team. And now we have all of these troops just bombarding Iran, and we have them pushing into Saudi, Yemen, making landings in Africa, and they are just steamrolling through Africa until they meet Egypt because Egypt's really good. They take over a lot of Saudi Arabia until Saudi Arabia surrenders. Even Iran surrendering, and now Turkish troops are withdrawn from the area, which leads to well, yeah, a lot of things oh no, because now all the Italian troops just take over Greece and make a landing near the Turkish old capital Istanbul, and they successfully take over Istanbul, which yeah, Italy like now Turkey is pretty much gone. As now even the Russians make small progress. Even now the Indians, the Russians, and the Chinese and Pakistani troops push in and take over Iraq, Syria, and Israel. I mean Palestine. Israel is not a country. They take over all of these countries, and they even push Turkey a lot. But now we have something that is really unexpected by the blue team. At a last ditch effort, they the Finnish troops just pushed the not Soviets, the Russians, and they're starting to like surround and capture a lot of Russian troops until eventually they are stopped. But they did take a lot of Russian troops in them, and this was the last ditch effort before eventually being stopped by the Russian troops. After this, the United Kingdom's naval thing works really good, and they take Berlin. And with this leads to the capitulation of Germany. This is really bad news for the blue team because Germany was like that biggest yes. Another landing at the Norway has gone really well for them as they make a huge naval progress. They go inwards and successfully take the Norway capital. Like in Norway, this is basically like this strip is like nothing. So this leads to Norway capitulating. And now the United Kingdom tries to go and help the Russians by onslaughting the Swedes. And all the way in America, I forgot about America. We have the United States doing pretty good with the Greenland. And they successfully take over Greenland, even though Denmark was already gone. And yeah, all the way in Africa, we have them push. No, not that big. We have Spain making a landing in Morocco and pushing them a lot. And we even have Egypt like losing the Suez Canal. And it's starting to look really bad for the blue team as they have naval landings in Indonesia, as all the troops are just bombarding everything. But all the way in Central America, we have the USA pushing a lot. By a lot, I mean a lot. And they successfully push into Venezuela, but before being stopped once and for all by the Brazilian. Yeah, all of these countries, they have so much more manpower than the United States. So Yeah, that's it of the United States entire thing as now they're being pushed back. And now, as I said, of these troops all over here, they're being pushed a lot by the Finnish troops. And Russia starts one last ditch effort by saving all those troops by just like doing a bulk head. But this is exactly what the Finns needed because now, since Russia was distracted here, like they make a huge confrontation in the Caucasus mountain region, and they start pushing a lot, like a lot means a lot, and Russia seems to be losing right now to some mild countries, but they eventually stop as the French and the British troops start pushing into Central Europe, and now the last of the remaining European troops are almost dead. So basically, this war is probably the most deadliest war in history. Yeah, more than World War II. This is like probably almost a billion deaths in this. Soon Finland ends up falling, and we have Finland and Sweden opting for peace rather than being losing like all of the people alive. And now in Americas, nope, not that. Who's not Brazil? Wait, Brazil switch sides. Now we have the South Americans successfully pushing back the Americans all the way till Guatemala before being stopped. They even tried to take back Cuba, but they're just kicked off because America, America. Back over here in Africa, we have a huge operation by the Red Team as they try to split the continent in half. They move all their forces like a bulge head, taking Chad, Central African Republic, and they start going south for some reason. They're almost there when they're stopped by the Nigerian troops. All these troops are just doing their last effort to just push them back. And it kind of works because they start pushing them back a little and they start trying to like circle them. But come on, this is like all of these countries combined trying. So yeah, there's it. So Malaysia opts for peace and surrenders as well. Wait, where? Malaysia opts for peace and surrenders. So is Indonesia. They opt for peace because they don't want to be onslaughted. So does Papua Guinea because Papua New Guinea is pretty good because they have a large cultural difference. And now they have huge landing, not huge. They have a landing in Madagascar and they kind of made a landing in Mozambique, but it's not really that big. They just push around a little before being stopped by the South African troops. Now all the way back here, yeah, America just yeah, does American things. The Americans just send like their entire naval base down. Yeah, Peru falls. So does these three. Oh, I forgot to put French Guiana in France. Anyway, but this is the max American can do without the others' help because these are the top contenders of South America. I don't know why. Okay, now it's back to this Asian continent. I mean, this European continent. We have the Russians and the French, the United and the English troops pushing into Turkey until Turkey just decides enough is enough and they surrender. This is a huge advantage because since Turkey is surrendering, oh no, no, no. Turkey surrendering means that they could just free back the Russian land. They successfully made a landing in Crimea and take back Crimea. They go into modern day Ukraine and they push it back a lot until the Russians just takes it all back themselves. So yeah, 1 minute. Man, this map. like my first videos, I don't know what I'm doing actually, but I promise you the videos are going to get better from now on. Now soon all the troops are just bombarding the African continent because Africa is just the last friend right now. And they do pretty well until, yeah, Egypt has been doing pretty well now, but then the Suez Canal falls. And now this leads to many countries surrendering, as some of the countries are the DRC, and followed by Libya surrendering, Niger, Mali, Nigeria actually surrendering, Chad doesn't surrender, but for this scenario they need to, or else they're just going to be onslaughted. And after this, followed by this, we have the other countries just being killed by this. And soon we have the Americans pushing back a little, but being killed by the Amazon rainforest. So they stop. And now we just have Africa falling into pieces. That's all it is. Yep, that's all. I know they live in bombing. I forgot about that. So now the Americans, they like all of them just send all their forces here and make a landing in the top of Brazil. They do a little bit, but they can't do anything. The British go down all the way here and they make a landing in Argentina because of their naval base in Falklands. The Americans push a little bit into Chile before they stop. And we have Australia surrendering, not to be bombarded, but the only Australian enemy is the spiders or the monster. Yeah, New Zealand actually shouldn't. Yeah, New Zealand exists somehow. In the map, I didn't see New Zealand. I guess it just appeared out of nowhere. Okay, now we have the Americans, all the troops. I'm not going to name all of them. The Korean, Japanese, everything, Russian, all the troops coming in, and soon we have Brazil surrendering. And Brazil surrendering means just that all of these countries just surrender, including Argentina, and that's it for this. Oh, you know what? I'll just do a peace treaty real quick. So basically, after some time, you can see the peace treaty. So basically, the peace treaty is, let's start with the most obvious one. South Korea, since they did very little in this war, they only get North Korea, they annexed North Korea. But Japanese troops, the Japanese troops did a lot. So they ended up annexing Taiwan, the Philippines, Malaysia, the East Malaysian island thingy, Indonesia, Australia, and New Zealand. India also did a lot. So they end up getting Nepal, Bhutan, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Vietnam, Laos, Cambodia, Thailand, and even the West Malaysia and little Singapore. Pakistan did not do as much. Oh, and India also got the Arabian coast area, so that's good for the oil and everything. Pakistan didn't do much, so they just got a huge part of um, Iran and Turkmenistan and some other countries in Central Asia. India also got this huge part of a huge chunk of Eastern Africa, and followed by Russia, since they did most of the hard work. They ended up annexing the Caucasus, they ended up annexing the Balkans, most of the Balkans, the Turkish areas, most of the Middle East, all the way till over here until they are, yeah, I forgot about that. They are stopped by the, yep, Cairo area. So this is it that Russia got though. It looks a lot, and they even annexed Mongolia. Next is China. They did quite some, so they got a lot of territories. They got all of Central Asia, most of Central Asia, followed by like a little part of Iran, and that's pretty much it. They got only got the Hong Kong, I guess. Yes, UAE didn't survive because I like UAE, and followed by that is the Europe. So Italy didn't do that much. All they got was just like a huge chunk of like Austria, Hungary. It looks like the old Austrian Empire, and they even got a little bit of Northern Africa over here. France did a lot of work by single-handedly taking like part of Iberian Peninsula, Germany, and so many more. So they annexed all of this. Yeah, Denmark's not there, and they even got this huge chunk of Western Africa and yeah, like this line moving straight. So I don't think that'd be good. Yeah, I'll just do this and I'll add this. So what I did was I removed the little part and added more part to India and this part which I'll come to you. Next is the got to put in Ireland. Yeah, so the United Kingdom basically, of course, they need Ireland. And it's back to the British Empire. They get Greenland, Iceland, Nordic, most of the Nordics, and they get the hugest African chunk, I guess. A lot of South Africa, Central Africa, going all the way to Chad. And get this whole area. And Madagascar, you know what? Yeah, let's do this Madagascar. I'm sorry, Madagascar, but this, this. Oh, sorry. And boop, boop, boop. Yeah, felt good. Bye bye, Madagascar. Okay, that didn't feel good. So. Okay, and just a minute. Yeah, that's pretty much it for Europe or Finland. I am sorry. Yeah, Finland goes to Russia, of course. Russia did all the hard work for Finland. But the Finns were pretty good in this war. They single-handedly was able to almost take down Russia. And next is the USA. The USA basically annexes all of Canada and Mexico and Central Africa. And this I just didn't draw it all. And now the most interesting thing of this entire map. All of South Africa is united into one continent that is like pro with this government. So it's like, yeah, this is good. This is good. So it supports. So yeah, that's it. So basically, the only people surviving the war is the microstates, I guess. The UAE. Forgot of Bahrain. Bahrain's not here. I'll just make a Bahrain island real quick. Okay, yeah, there's Bahrain. It survived, I guess. Maldives, no, Maldives. Let's just say that. Because Maldives, nobody's going to care about it in 20 years. Bye bye, Maldives. So basically, that's mostly it. It's like South America is like the South American Confederation, and like basically, it's like the northern part. No, no, what is this? Sorry about that. So basically, it's like this northern area is like pro-American. The like some of it is pro-French. It's like pro-British, like pro-Korean, pro-Japanese, I guess. It's like pro-Pakistani. This is pro-Indian and pro-Russian. Like that, each part is divided into different cultures, which supports each different country. But overall, they support every single country and won't get involved in any conflicts because nobody wanted this entire continent. So, yep, that's gonna do it for this video. Hope you all had a great time. If you want videos like this, please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. I'll make videos like this more regularly, maybe once in a week, and I'll try and improve the content because, yeah, it looks disgusting, some of the borders, but I'm new to this and I'll gradually improve. So please don't scroll, don't leave me, just subscribe, please. Okay, so that's gonna do it. Thank you, everybody. Hope you had a great video, and bye bye.